I'm Kri, and this is 𝐬𝐮𝐬 and Ember, take one.
So yeah, you're Kri. Appreciate you being here. I say this to everyone that comes on the show, but I really mean it. I'm very excited to chat with you because I don't know your story. I'm really excited to learn your story, and I feel like there's a lot of insights and things that we can learn just because I haven't worked with you yet, but I feel a lot of creative energy coming off of you and the way that you approach it. It seems like you have a lot of reverence and like appreciation for what it is. So we know you're Kri. Why don't you can tell me, tell the camera, tell us, or just here, tell us a little bit about yourself. What is it that you do creatively?
Okay, so I am Kri. What do I do creatively? I feel like I'll say first and foremost, as you kind of, I think, already know, but I'm definitely in a transformational space with what I do creatively. Just with sort of combining things that I've been adding to my tool belt over the years, so to speak. But I'm a creative. I use the word creatrix. Some people might say multi-hyphenate. I do a number of things. I make music, I sing, I songwrite, I make beats. Sometimes you might see me doing live sound somewhere or DJing for somebody. I also am in like what I call the healing arts world. So,
cool.
So I am a Reiki master, and I'm in the process of working on building that as a business more. I've studied breath work and Pilates.
Cool.
So I've held space for people with breath work. I've taught Pilates. And right now I'm sort of working on combining like what I know from the world of healing arts with what I know with the music world. And so to get a little bit deeper into what I do with music, my start with music was music production. So I am one half of a music production duo.
Cool.
We go by Vibes Don't Lie. Which that being said, I feel like if there was like one thing that I, like just a word to put on what it is that I do, I feel like I work with energy, like period. You know, I work with energy and I work with source, I work with spirit. And yeah, so Vibes Don't Lie. Me and my best friend, we have known each other since we were 5, and we grew up together. Just like really being big fans of music and going to a lot of shows together. We took guitar lessons together at one point when we were kids. That never really panned out anywhere. But then, later in life, we ended up starting producing together. I don't know if I should story time, I guess.
I mean, you're on a roll. Go ahead.
Okay, so Vibes Don't Lie. Me and my friend Jacqueline, she goes by 𝐬𝐬𝐫𝐷, we started producing in 2017. We started learning how to produce. And that sort of just rolled into us becoming this co-production duo, just because of kind of the way that we started. We started it as like, we both had loved music for so long. Jacqueline always wanted to learn to produce. I was actually moving back to Boston at the time and was just feeling called creatively. And then she hit me up and was like, I found these production classes. I'm going to go take them. I was like, all right, wait for me. I'm on my way back. And then, so then about a year after we started learning to produce, we started working together as a co-production duo. And so we have an instrumental project out on streaming platforms, which we had put out in 2019. And then in 2020, right around the time when the world started shifting, we ended up we were working on an EP and, you know, continuing our music road. And then we ended up connecting with a modern production class, with Ron Gilmore, who is a amazing artist, musician, producer himself, who works with Dreamville. And I like randomly saw this tweet online. Like I opened Twitter and it was the first thing. He was like, I'm thinking about teaching a class. And I was like, there's no way this dude's like teaching, like what? And so I reached out and it was true. And so we ended up taking this class. It was basically like a college course. We had class like 4 or 5 days a week for a few months, and homework every day sort of thing. And that resulted or ended the final project of that was to put an EP together in 2 weeks.
Nice.
We put this EP together, which is out on streaming platforms, which is called Pronoia, which has a lot of Massachusetts-based or connected artists on that project. And then a couple years later, we put out the deluxe version of that project. So those are all out. And our like intention with what we saw ourselves doing with Vibes Don't Lie is not just to like be producers and like make music, but to be able to also sort of be a platform for other artists too. So with the music that we're putting out and getting our other artists on, we're put these compilation projects together to be able to, you know, shine the light that's being shown on us to other people. And then, we also like have a general intention of anybody that we're working with, like we go by Vibes Don't Lie, right? The vibes don't lie.
Yeah.
If the vibes aren't right,
then we're not gonna work together. But if they're there, you know, there it is. And also having an intention of just like spreading with the people that we work with, either spreading a positive message or sharing their story, like something empowering, impactful, inspiring. So that's what I do music-wise there. And that's awesome. That's a very interesting, that's a journey and very much something that like seems like it was kind of done with someone else, but all at the same time, like very much something that you found your own thing in at the same time.
For sure,
I feel like you're about to go to the other things that you do. So tell us a little bit about that.
So it popped into my head too. In taking that class with Ron Gilmore, that's when I actually started singing. So when I was a kid, like I wanted to be a singer and I just thought I couldn't sing. I thought I couldn't do music. Like I thought I had all of these ideas for not really any good reason. And so when, you know, fast forward to taking the class with Ron, part of our homework was we would have to recreate vocal tracks of like different songs. So I think the first one I did was Wouldn't It Be Nice by the Beach Boys.
Nice.
And so like I did, you know, turned that homework in and Ron was like, Kri, like you're actually kind of good. And I was like, what? Like, so shout out to Ron, helping inspire me to get to singing. So then I started singing from that. And then fast forward from there. So I'm originally from Boston, and sort of long story very short, in looking for a change of pace from Boston, ended up coming out to Greensboro, connecting actually with my good sister, Jenna, who we met from taking the class with Ron. So this class was like virtual. And after connecting with Jenna and landed me out in Greensboro, again, long story really short, I, in this time period, also started studying the breath work and the Reiki, and connected with sort of like a spiritual mentor out here. Let's see. And so the other work, the music started kind of right as I was also opening the door to the healing arts side of work. And so at first they've kind of felt like two totally completely different worlds. And I'm in this space right now where I'm exploring combining them together more because there's so much I could say. Music in itself, right? Like is energy, is healing, is spirit.
It's a vibration.
It's a vibration.
If you really
literally
get down to it, it's vibrations. And if you tune those correctly, if you tune it to your body, in what way does that help you heal?
Yes. Yeah. So that's one thing I didn't mention too. I've studied sound healing along with the breath work and everything too. So I'm sort of just in a space of exploring how I can do what I've been doing, but open the door up more with sound healing. But also in a way that, you know, like I know there's a lot of music that's coming out right now. It's like affirmation sort of music and things like that. So I don't know that I necessarily want to go down that road exactly, but just exploring more of the areas where like I know some artists are starting to use frequencies like pop mainstream artists that are making sure that the frequencies in their songs are attuned to like 523 hertz so that it, you know, works with a certain sort of energy, bringing in a certain energy into the space. And so I think all those sorts of things are really important when we're thinking about music, because when it comes back to like what we're listening to, what we're intaking, you can think about like what you're eating, right? That could be whatever you're digesting through your ears, your eyes, your mouth, like we're taking in so many things. And so if we're listening to music where the frequencies are, you know, like what's the intention of the frequencies?
Yeah.
And how is that impacting the space?
That's really cool. That's really cool. So yeah, dude, that's very interesting. I'm glad you shared that story because I feel like there's a lot in there. So many different ways that we could go, a lot to unpack. Right. I think starting with the music part, the thing that I'm most curious about is like, what kind of music is it that you make and what kind of music do you like to make? Yeah. If those aren't the same thing.
Yeah, I feel like they are. So the music that Vibes Don't Lie makes, I always say it's hip hop inspired. Because I don't really know what genre to put on it. I wouldn't necessarily say that we have a genre. Our music's really versatile. We've worked with a number of different artists in different ranges. We have music that's like trap, R&B, pop, even some Afrobeat music.
That's cool.
We grew up just with a really broad range of musical influences. Being from Boston, believe it or not, a lot of people don't know. So I'm going to put this out there. There's actually a lot of diversity in Boston in a lot of different ways. So our influences are just really broad. And so when it comes to what I like to make, I mean, I don't feel like I make anything intentionally that I don't like. You know what I mean? I'm going to make, if I'm starting to make something and I'm just like making it with not for somebody else or whatever, like I'm just kind of going to feel into the energy and like see what's going on and then translate that into music.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So when you, I think one of the things I'm most curious about for you and with you is, okay, so you walked in, sessions beginning, blank canvas. What's that process like of going, okay, I have this completely open space. I have a blank canvas. I get started by doing, Kri starts her creative process by doing blank. What is that? It
varies. I feel like that what I just said would be the first piece is like, okay, what's the energy right now? Like, what am I feeling? What am I hearing anything? Is there an emotion that I want to put into the music? That would be the first thing. Because I know a lot of people always ask like, oh, what do you start with, like drums or this or that? And it's like, I don't necessarily have one exact way that I go every single time. Yeah. Every time is kind of a new journey.
That's cool. That's really cool. So like each song is almost like its own little journal entry or like
I've never thought of
kind
it
of
like that.
A snapshot of where you were at that moment of getting started. But then there's also all the emotions that and vibes and feelings that all the other people involved in the session are bringing too, that's going to influence what the final product is as well. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, for sure. And then, I mean, it can depend too, like if I've been inspired by like something I've been listening to that day, maybe it'll be influenced by something I've been hearing, or if there's a song that I heard that I want to try to sample, maybe I'll go that road.
It's funny that I'm talking to you today because this morning I'll have these moments and I want to know if you have them too. I'll have these moments where like I will be sleeping and I'll like my body will still be asleep, but my mind will be awake and I'll start hearing music. Yeah. And I'm like, I need to go get that down because that's actually kind of fire and I need to make sure I capture that. And even if it's just like I got the main melody line or like the beat down, it's like I have one piece of it that I can start and make something from. Do you have something? Do you ever experience something similar like that?
Yes, I definitely do. I have had the first time I ever experienced that. I was in like 5th grade and I was in that space in the morning waking up and I had a poem like straight download to me. I didn't call it download at that time. I don't even like words are weird, but that was the first time it ever happened. And like I said before, I was kind of like disconnected to myself being a creator as a kid. So there was like a long space in between me really being conscious of that again. But yeah, like being more in touch with that now, it happens often.
Yeah.
You know, you'll hear something in the morning. Yeah. Like you're just coming back into that space, get a sound, get words, a lot of times, cause I write too, and I write poetry.
Oh, nice.
Or songwrite, and I'll just like be chilling, minding my business, and have like a bar, just, you know, pop right down. All right, write that down, come back to it later. That just feels like it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I had actually a poem that I wrote last year. My grandmother had passed away, and a few months after that, I had a poem again that just like felt like it downloaded to me.
Yeah.
I don't even feel like I wrote it. I felt like it was like her message for me to spread to the
That's
world.
cool. I've
been able to share it with people that have, you know, like been moving through grief and stuff, just been guided to share it. So those are,
That's cool. Yeah. I call it being a lightning rod.
Yeah.
Like, cause my creative process for two different things. For work, it is very much, I need to understand what this issue is first, because what I'm going to make is going to be directly related to that. And so I need to understand this problem or this business challenge or whatever that this video I'm going to make. What am I trying? What's the solve? What's the solution I'm trying to make? And that's one thing. But then for like, when I'm just doing stuff for myself, a lot of times I call it the sandbox. Like, I'm just going to go play in the sandbox today. And like, I'm going to open up 𝐴RTuria, Analog Lab 5, and just like, what cool sounds are in there? Or I use Studio One, Persona Studio One, don't judge me, but I'll open up Studio One and just like, what's in there. But then there's like this third one. And that's why I asked you, is like, and I love the idea of downloading.
Yeah.
Of a download, because it very much feels like that. It's like, I did not make this.
Right.
This is not an original idea for
receiver.
me. It was somewhere out there in the ether, and I was just tuned to the right frequency at the right time, and here it is.
Exactly.
And I think that's so cool, because you said something that I feel very similar. I didn't really start calling myself a creative until probably this year.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
But I've been playing music since I was 11. I've been playing guitar since I was 11. I've been doing video for 10 years now. Like, I've been doing creative things for a long time, but I never really called myself a creative.
Yeah.
What has that journey been like for you to like step into and embrace that? Like, I am a creative. What's that like for you?
Low key has been terrifying.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I've definitely had a lot of fear that I've been tackling, moving through, conquering.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, it has been a journey and a half, because I really for a long time just like did not see myself in that way. I didn't think that I could make music because I didn't play an instrument. I didn't know how to play an instrument. Like, we had taken those guitar lessons, and I feel like the instructor just like, we didn't quite connect, and then he just taught me how to play some songs, and I just like didn't really get it. And then singing, like, I think when I was really young, I was playing around one time singing, and someone was like, oh yeah, that sounds really good. And I was like, okay, so I can't sing. So it's like moving through a lot of self-doubt, and, you know, and so, so then when it came to that point of just like feeling called creatively, and not really knowing what that meant, but just allowing myself to listen to it, and then coming into the production work. A lot of imposter syndrome and a lot of self-doubt that I've been moving through the last handful of years. Is what it's been like.
Dude, right there with you. And one of the things that I've started thinking is like, I can call myself a creative because this thing would not exist if I was not here. It's like this song or this video or whatever project that is now a tangible thing that other people can, you know, enjoy and interpret and partake in. Like, if I wasn't here with my ideas, or in some cases my hands doing the work, like, it would not exist. Right. So like, in that way, I'm a creator. I'm a creative because I've made something. And it's that quote from Rick Rubin all the time, where that's all over Instagram right now, where he's like, I have no technical ability. I don't know how to play any instruments. I don't know how to work a studio, a mixing board, but his influence in situations creates things. And I'm glad that I'm talking to you about this, because when I say energy, you understand what I mean. His creative energy being there helped to make it happen. But I think
like a space holder.
Exactly.
I would call myself the same thing. Like, he's a musical space holder.
Exactly. It's like he understands what the situation is and what it needs and the soft skills to know what each person in that situation needs to do. And he can direct creative in that way. Maybe not necessarily play the best musical passage ever, but he just knows what the right next thing is.
Yeah.
And
he's on that channel.
Yeah, exactly. He's tuned to the right channel. So I'm glad you brought tuning to the right channel up. Cause I feel like that's something that's very important to you. I know it's something that is very important to me, as I have to be tuned to the right channel to get into my creative process. Are there things that you do in your life to make sure that you're tuned correctly?
Yeah.
And so what are those?
That has definitely been a journey for me too. A big part of how I ended up getting into studying breath work and Pilates and even the sound healing, all those things, was my own health and healing journey. And yeah, like self-care, it was also something that's just like been a new understanding for me over the last handful of years. At this point now, I feel like daily, I got to make sure I get grounded. I got to, more recently, cause I'm from Boston, like I said, inner city kid, was never super connected to nature growing up. But connecting to nature now and within the last handful of years of my life is something that is like the idea of that is opening up for me more and more. And then like my connection and relationship to connecting to nature in that way to get grounded and like work with the energy in that way too, is definitely something that I connect to. That's cool. Eating well. I try to do the best of my abilities. You know, there's in journaling, writing is definitely a big thing. 'Cause you know, in talking about like having those downloads, like sometimes things will come through, that like, you know, it's an energy. Like to me, everything is energy. Our emotions are energy, our energy in motion. And in order to like keep ourselves, bringing it to Reiki, right? So like with Reiki, thinking about your chakra system, the simplest way that I always think to explain it, like you ideally want your energy flowing clean and clear. And I lost my train of thought a little bit, but you want to move that energy in whatever ways make sense for you. So like if for me, a lot of times emotionally, like writing, I'll have to write through it and process through it, whether that comes through as poetry or song, or it might just be me like questioning myself, like going back conversation, with myself. So what else do I do? Physical fitness.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Pilates, that's something I came into. The Pilates and the breath work is really, really big for me. I feel like breath work is a magic that I wish that the whole world knew about. It is a medicine all in itself, and it is right within our own body, you know, that we can tap into. And I think that is even in saying that it doesn't even cover, like, you know, breathwork can heal so many things beyond what anyone could even begin to think about. And some people don't even know what breathwork is. And it's such an ancient healing tool it's also one of the things that I'm exploring and combining the music with. Like, how can I bring frequencies into breathwork? Either if I may do that with like recording or holding space for people. I've also connected with other breathwork facilitators or meditation, guided meditation folks who like need music in that way. So it's going a little off topic, but
That's cool. While you were talking, I'd never considered it this way, but this idea of being aware of what enters into my body, whether that's physically in the form of food, mentally, the stimulation from my phone, emotionally, the conversations and the way I interact with people, or spiritually, like for me, I'm Christian, like all of those things as inputs. If my job as a creative is to create an output, I need to make sure the inputs that are coming into me and into my body and into my space are good and clean and good for those things I'm going to create. Yeah. And so when you were talking about chakras, it was like, because I explored it a little bit when I was in my early 20s, like the idea of them being in alignment and energy flowing free and clear. And if it's not flowing free and clear, that for me, that means one of two things. One of those chakras is out of alignment, or one of them, or multiples of them are blocked.
Right.
And so it's like, this is why I need to be aware of the situations I'm putting myself in, the foods I'm eating, the content I'm consuming, is so that those things can be in alignment and there can be no blockages.
Because then you have the clearest channel to create.
Exactly. And it's like, I've kind of been on a quest for truth, so to say, lately. And one of the things that I've learned is like, actually the best way to get that is also to purify myself in a way. Cause then it's like, there's no distractions. I can see and understand what it is clearly.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just really cool that you brought that up. I think that's very interesting.
I love to hear you talk about it, because I feel like it's not always something that people even begin to consider.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Yeah. For me, like, and I feel like I started to really integrate this when I did start to learn Reiki. It was like intention. Intention is everything.
Yes. 100%.
Like that's going to set the foundation for everything that you're doing. So, when it comes to anything that I'm doing, like, okay, what is my intention? Am I clear? Am I cleansed? Am I grounded? Like what's the space? Like even when I came in here before we started the podcast to get grounded, I like came and like, put my little Reiki symbols in the room and just like breathe and,
are they in the room right now?
Words.
Sorry, I don't see them. Are they in the room right now?
Yeah.
I don't even see them. That's funny.
You can't, they're not visible, so to speak. With Reiki, there's certain symbols that you use in the practice, but you can also just use it to like help hold space. That's cool. Like help hold the intention of whatever the space is. So, No,
that's cool. Cause like, and again, this idea of grounding, like you said, when you came in before we did our episode, I was like, take as long as you need to get set. Cause that again, like I know that's something that I need. I do it a little differently because for me, my spirituality is very much related to the idea of God.
Right.
And so for me, that manifests as 5 to 30 minutes in the morning of like reading my scriptures and praying and doing things like that. But like, I see how that it manifests. It's the same idea manifested in a different way that works for you. And I feel like that definitely influences the creative things that you do. Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, if we're good to segue to something different.
Sure, yeah.
I was just thinking on the way here, I was like, I want to ask Kri this question. I was like, if you could wave a magic wand and everything turn out the way that you want it to in terms of your career, whether it's music or Reiki or both, like what would that look like?
Oh, that's a question I should have been asking myself for a while. That's a great question. I think what that would look like is just like the perfect combination of, I think it would look like a few things and how it would look like in my world, but like the perfect combination of finding what's like catchy, like what people actually like want to listen to, or like what makes people attracted to like listen to or hear something, with the combination of like, oh, this is also beneficial for me and helping me heal. Because if you are like, okay, I'm going to put this breathwork piece with this like healing frequencies out there, like that's not going to connect with everybody. But like what is that space in between the all of the areas of knowledge and wisdom that I have and the skills that I have, and how can I combine all of those things together to touch as many people as I can with the energy and the wisdom that all of that holds to like plant those seeds for other people too.
So it's almost like finding a way to get all those good things we talked about, those good inputs, and sharing that with as many people as possible, but doing it in a way that, because this is one of the things about spirituality that I think all spiritual people could get better at, is like, in my opinion, the average person, that's not something that they have the language to communicate or explain. So it's a little difficult for them to understand. And what it sounds like you're saying is like, find a way to communicate that in a way that like,
find a way to communicate what?
Like all the healing and the Reiki and the good energy. Find a way to communicate what all of that is in a way that is catchy, so to say. Because like, I think when you were talking, I think about like pop music, not pop as a genre, but like pop as like top 40.
Yeah.
If you really look at it, like a lot of it, you have these nice, fun pop melodies, but if you read the lyrics, it's like, this is not good.
Yeah.
Like this is, and again, it's like, what am I bringing into my life?
Right.
And it may feel good,
right,
but underneath the surface, is it doing some damage or some harm to me?
Yeah. To be honest, there was a little chunk of time a few years back where I was, just kind of like heavy coming into the spiritual space and like understanding more about myself. And I was like, man, like, I don't even know if I can do this music thing anymore. Cause I think I was just in such a sensitive space in that time in terms of what I was taking in, that certain songs that I used to love and listen to or certain genres, I was like, damn, like this is kind of heavy for my being to like take in right now. So there definitely was a chunk of time where I stopped listening to a lot more of like the pop mainstream things and was a lot more on literally just listening to frequencies and stuff like that for a while. But
that was grounding yourself in a way. Maybe not at like 5 minutes in the morning, but it was an extended period of like, let me find this thing.
Yeah. And cause I do think for me too, like, I think part of what it looks like right now and maybe what it'll continue to look like in the future, maybe not, who knows, but I think, with how what I'm doing kind of works right now, we have like Vibes Don't Lie is sort of like a mainstream thing, you know, like that's popular music, so to speak. And then I have my own things that I do myself with the healing arts world and creatively too. So I feel like there will be different touch points for people to connect with that will give them the frequency that they're supposed to get in whatever way, that makes sense for them. So maybe there won't ever be that one perfect thing, and maybe there's not supposed to be because I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's interesting because taking this idea you're talking about touch points and the different ways that people can enter your world and enter your space. If you think about what marketing is, that's all marketing is. Right. It's just creating multiple options for people to interact with your brand, your story, your product, your service, whatever. And so it's kind of like taking that very abstract, amorphous idea of the different touch points of your creative process and the creative things you're trying to make, and like bringing that back to something tangible of, I have to tell people what it is that I'm doing. So what are the different ways that I can do that? Is it Instagram? Is it LinkedIn? Is it YouTube videos? And on the other side of that, one of the things I want to ask you, because I feel like you're very good about this in the little time I've known you, is like, how do you stay genuine and authentic to who you are as a creative person when you look around and see other people and like, oh, if I make just that little bit of sacrifice, I'll have of my integrity. If I sacrifice a little bit of my integrity, I might get what I want. Like, is that something you struggle with? Is that something you deal with?
I wouldn't say it's something I struggle with internally, like for myself. Like I'm pretty morally structured just in my being. But I do struggle with it a little bit in terms of like there can be a fine line on that intention, right? When it comes to like the mainstream music of Vibes Don't Lie, I was working with artists, and say we work with somebody and they say something on a track that doesn't necessarily fall into this is empowering, uplifting, or sharing a story, or getting the emotion out, Yeah. And it's not to say everything needs to be pretty and positive and whatever, like, but it's, like there's a line there between what, what is shared in an empowering way and what is shared in a disempowering way. Train of thought. What was the original question?
It's just like, how do you maintain your integrity?
Yeah. In
a world where this thing dominates what we do,
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it's part of my purpose to stand.
That's cool.
Stand on 10. And, but I do sometimes run into like, cause there is certain stuff that we have already released where it's like, if I was where I'm at right now today,
I don't know if I would put that out.
Yeah, I might not have said yes to that one.
Yeah.
But I think everything happens for a reason. I think it is what it is. That's okay. But it does. I definitely question more like, okay, does this hit the intention the right way, or is this missing the mark?
That makes sense. So you got to keep sight on your intention on what that is. What am I actually trying to do here? And if I stay focused on that and keep moving towards that, I will know what things to let enter and exit my life that will help me get there. That makes a ton of sense. That makes a ton of sense. I mean, I've asked you a bunch of questions. I feel like we've covered a lot. I don't have anything else to ask you. Is there anything that you want to ask me? Any questions that you have for me?
I feel like I don't want to interview you now.
Go ahead.
But
I'm literally giving you the torch. Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know a ton about you either. So I guess maybe what's your intention with this podcast, your inspiration with the podcast? I obviously know, I know a little bit about the intention already, but what inspired you, because you're a creative in a number of ways too. Like, what inspired you to be like, okay, I have something to share in a way that needs to be heard by people. What's that for you?
Specifically for this show, this is my third time trying to do this show. Okay. And this is the first time it's gotten off the ground. So I appreciate you being here. This is our fifth recording, probably be the fifth that is released, because I'm just starting to release them in that order. And the first time I got too precious with it. I recorded some with people, but I focused too much on it being perfect and not it being done. And that I allowed that to stop me from releasing it. I think I still have the recordings of that first round. And they're all really interesting conversations, I think. Only audio, though. So I would, to release them would be like, I don't know if I'd release them as part of this. The second time I tried this, I wanted to do it as part of an intern project for my old job. So I was a mentor for interns, and I was like, a really cool recruiting tool would be to interview people who work here about what it's like to work at an ad agency and do creative things as a career. In terms of this, there are two sides of me that I feel like fuel what it is that I do. There's the creative person and there's the businessman. Full disclosure, this podcast is kind of a like meta case study for my production company of like, we live in what I call the attention economy, what people call the attention economy. And so making one big video, one Super Bowl commercial, that's not really accessible for a lot of people. But what is accessible is something like this, where you can sit down with a friend and record for 30 minutes to an hour and create enough content to last for 5-6 weeks from that. And so it's kind of like, let me show you all what can be done in terms of promoting my production company by doing the actual show and showing you all this is a way that you can create content for your company, your brand, your service in a way that is very inexpensive, very cost effective, and creates a lot of content that you can then future cast for a long time.
Nice.
So that's the businessman side. The creative side is like, I've just always been so enamored by creativity. I really think it's one of God's greatest gifts to humans because it's one of the ways that we get to share in what it's like to be him a little bit. If you believe in what if you believe he created things, and it's like when I write a song, I'm a little bit, learning more about who you are and what it's like to be you, because I'm either creating something brand new or taking of these materials and creating a new way to arrange it. And so, but then also like I think about all my influences growing up, whether it's musicians or filmmakers or artists or whatever, it was never so much their art that inspired me. It was more about the way that they approached what it was that they were doing.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, I know all of these creative people and they're all doing some pretty cool stuff. I would love to learn how they approach their process.
Yeah.
Because maybe there's something that I can learn from them. Maybe there's something that I can give to them, and like, and for all the people watching, like, what can all these people watching, what can they learn, and how can their creative process get better? So it's just like, this is truly like the creative side, 100% just a passion project, something I've wanted to do for the longest time. And like some things happened for me that were just like, okay, you have the opportunity to do this, like won a scholarship.
Right.
You have your chance. Go do it, young man. But then also the businessman is like, hey, we can benefit from that too.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's wrong. I actually think that's
your touch points.
Yeah, exactly. It's a touch points. And I think both of those things working together, the creative and the business, man, are like, I think that's kind of what's going to unlock my future a little bit, is like being able to serve both of those things without losing my integrity, which is why I asked you that question earlier. So hopefully that answers the question. Also,
can I flip that question back on you then?
Ahead.
Like, how does that land for you and for integrity, like keeping your integrity in your work? What does that mean for you?
It's the same thing. It's intention. It's knowing what the project is, knowing what I'm walking into. My discovery process with clients in terms of client work is I try to get very clear about what it is that they're trying to do so I can decide if it's something that I want to be a part of or not.
Right.
I just kind of like helping people, especially in a business way. So 9 times out of 10, it's like, oh yeah, I can help you with that.
Right.
And if you pay me correctly, then we all win. Like everyone wins.
Yeah.
But then like I talked about it, Christian, believer in God, very much try to just like he laid the blueprint for how to be successful in this life. And it's it's kind of oxymoronic, paradoxical, where it's like, just help other people.
Yeah.
The more you help other people, the more opportunity comes to you. It's really weird how it works, but like the more you just like try to genuinely serve people, the more that comes back around to you.
It's how energy, energy works.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And that's why I'm so fascinated by the way that you approach it, because it's a lot of the things that you're saying, I find to be very similar. You're just using a different vocabulary to explain them.
Right.
But it's the same concepts. It's the same principles.
Yeah.
And so in terms of like maintaining my integrity, it's like, no, I gotta make sure I'm tuned to the right frequency. My radio is tuned to making sure that I'm getting the downloads from on high, and making sure that when it comes down, I'm in a position to act on it.
Right.
And like in a way, like my own personal worthiness, my own personal righteousness, like, am I being a good person so I can receive this thing that usually is a blessing from you? And a lot of times when that comes, it means, okay, this part is for me, but then now I got to take this part and share it with the people around me.
So for you in your work with the production company side of things, do you feel like there's ever like, what would be something for you that would like stop you in your morals, or like have you had those instances?
Not really. I haven't had those instances yet. I've been very fortunate. It would probably be subject matter.
Yeah.
Certain subject matters. Okay, so you're asking me about how do I maintain my integrity, and I was answering the question, and then my camera overheated and shut off. And so we took a break. And in that break, I actually remembered a couple of times where I had to do some things that I didn't feel good about as I was doing them. And it was both of those situations were like, well, this sucks, but I finished it. I finished both projects, got them through to completion. And it was more of like a learning experience of like, in the future, I know what to look for to prevent myself from getting in this situation again. In terms of what I do now is I focus very much, I think we talked about helping other people. And part of my process of figuring out what the business problem that my clients are trying to solve is figuring out how does solving this problem help their audience. Some brands I've worked for, they say they help people. I don't particularly agree with that, hence why I don't work with them anymore. But that's their choice, and that's really what it comes down to for me, is like part of why I started my own production studio, my own company, was so that I could have the choice of who I work with based on what I believe to be right and what I believe to be true.
Yeah.
And so it's gotten easier as I've gotten older and as I've gotten further along in my career, because as I've gotten better, I can afford to be more selective of who I work with. And I think the other thing is that if for whatever reason I don't feel like I'm the right fit for someone, or we're the right fit for each other, I have a network of people that I can refer those people to.
Right.
They're like, if this is really important for you to do, I don't feel comfortable doing it. I don't feel like I'm the right person for it, but here's a list of people that can help you get it done, and they can decide for themselves. So that's how I handle that one. Do you have any other questions for me? Anything else you want to know?
I don't know. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see like how the podcast touches people, you
Thanks.
know? Yeah, I feel like, because what I was hearing before when you were saying how it's like kind of double for you with the, like you have the business side and the creative side. I feel like there's just what I can see is like, it's just like all of these little lanes of touch points within the podcast for people, you know? So like, it's exciting.
You got it. It's like this wide net of content that like, I might grab someone here. I might grab, honestly, if it happens, I'll bring you on the shoot. I might grab a Reiki client from this. You never know.
Right.
But you never know who's listening.
Right.
And that's why I'm part of what I'm doing is like, this is a topic that really interests me. It's a way for me to show like my creative side, my strategic side, my business side, all in one place in a way that is not overtly saying, hire me, you know? It's subtle, and it's a way for people to get to know me and the brand of the business, and also get to know you all and all that, like you, Kri, and Vibes Don't Lie, and all the other guests on the show. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad it's finally getting off the ground, because it has been so rewarding and so much fun. Like, yeah, I recorded an episode yesterday, and I got home, and within an hour I had it cut and was uploading it so that I could get all the short. Like, it's just like so much fun to finally do something I wanted to do for so long.
Yes, that's awesome.
So yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on, dude.
I appreciate you.
I feel like we had a great conversation. It went in a direction that I did not expect.
That's what I was saying. I feel like it could have gone in so many ways, but yeah.
I think we covered some
the intention for it to, you know, be what it is intended to be. So
and that I appreciate you doing that, because looking back on what we've talked about, it's like this is what it was meant to be.
Right.
And kind of our job as creative is to shepherd that.
Right.
Here's what the project is telling us it wants to be. Let me get my ego out of the way and just help the project be the best thing that it can.
Yep.
So I'm glad we got to do this. I'm glad we got to hang out. Real quick, if people wanted to find you online or anywhere, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram, I guess would be the best way right now. You can find me at Kristagram, KRI_Stagram, STAGRAM. If you want to follow the co-production page, you can follow us at Vibes Don't Lie, which is spelt funny. So you'll have to spell check VYBEZDXNTLIE. And you can find that everywhere. Instagram, if you want to search on streaming platforms to hear any of the music, you can hear that way. But yeah, if you're interested in any of the things that I do, you can hit me up on the Kristagram. Best way to touch point.
Right on. Thanks, dude. I appreciate you. Anything else?
Appreciate you.
I forgot one last question. And I haven't been asking everyone this, but I remembered it while I was talking to you. So how long have you been doing what it is that you're doing now? Like as production, and like how long is it from when you started to now?
Yeah. So I started music-wise it was actually end of 2016 going into 2017. So what's the math on that?
8 years.
8 years?
So coming up on 10 years in 2026.
Yeah.
So if you could go back and tell Kri when you started this is where we're going to go, this is where we're going to land, like what would you tell Kri?
Wow. It's deep. So much has transpired in that time period, but I would go back and tell her, honestly, I would just go back and tell her to listen to that channel. Like, listen, if you are knowing that channel is your clear channel and you know you can trust it, just listen and trust it, you know, like let go of the fear. Doesn't need to be there. You don't need to feel like an imposter. You're doing what you're doing. And I would also tell her to just be intentional. Be intentional. Take care of yourself. Just be who you are. And yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I would say the same things to you. So, all right. Well, that's it, man. Thanks. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
All right.
All right. Peace.